This week, the dads are still tired, but there's hope on the horizon. The dads also go through some VR purchases from the recent sale and delve into a couple PSVR reviews with SuperHot and Moss. This week's Gaming Dad Victory of the Week goes to Dad Legend and his achievement in a constant favorite, Hearthstone. All this and more on New Dad Gaming. The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-month-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I'll apologize a bit in advance. I was actually sick the last couple of days. Yeah, which is, man, big shout out to the missus. She gave me some extra sleep, and she was kind of taking the head with the kids for a bit. So that was an incredible relief. Man, because I was in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And it came from one of the kids. Like, one of them got me sick.
Even if it didn't, just blame them.
They may as well. I'm tired because of them, so clearly It's probably because of them. To that end too, an update on the sleeping situation. We're not sleeping. We're not sleeping. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in. We've made some progress with, for anybody first tuning in, our 2.5-year-old has regressed and he started to not sleep through the night. He figured out how to crawl out of a crib, open the door, started to wander around at night. The worst offense was honestly when he came into the other bedroom where we co-sleep with our 5-month-old and proceeded to wake him up.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's like, oh man, dude, you're awake, that's bad enough. But you're gonna be waking up your brother too? Like, please. That's like
capital offense.
Oh. Anyway, so we tried a different room because we kind of dismantled this other bed, had a mattress on the floor, so he would have a bit more room, and we'd have to think about him falling while trying to get out of his crib.
Right.
But still terrible fights. We changed our strategies a bit. So like we were doing pretty well with his physical activity before bed, as far as trying to get him really tired. We've actually amped that up.
Oh yeah,
and that's shown some progress. We also curious, like he actually moved back to the other room. Like one of the nights when we were putting him to bed, he just kept asking to go back to the other room.
Okay.
Which notably, it is nicer. Like the new room's a bit sad because it's like a mattress on the floor, right?
Yeah. Like
it's kind of a temporary thing as we sorted it out, so you get it. So he went back to the crib. And did some decent nights. I think what the interesting one was this morning he'd woken up at 4 a.m., but he kind of knows now that the door is locked, so he just putted around and then fell asleep on the couch that's in his room. Woke up again at 5:30, went back to sleep again.
Oh.
And that kept going until 6:30 when finally it's like, okay, time to wake up and get going. It's almost like the knowledge that like, oh, the door's locked, I can't leave, has been enough for him to settle back in, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Like with your kids, like did you have the child doorknobs, or did you lock the doors? Like as soon as they passed that threshold, like what did you do to keep them in their rooms?
Just barricades, man. You just gotta go full-fledged barricades.
Fortnite style, like building crates on top of cars, on top of signposts.
Yeah. You lay some tinfoil down, you hear them coming. No, we didn't lock the doors, but we had a couple conversations when they could undo the child safety doorknob lock. So once they did that, we kind of just made it clear that they would lose something if they continued doing what they're doing. So like if it was one of their stuffies or like a book, they love reading books before they go to bed. It's just we set out the rules and just kind of kept routine, and that worked for a while. But you do have to switch up your style because they do adapt. It's just they adapt. They know your weaknesses, and they go full-fledged. And when there are two of them and they kind of can talk to each other, when you get to that point, they conspire against you. So they see what punishment the other one's getting and either complain about it or band together to try and get out of it. So we've had to just kind of go back to the drawing board on some stuff. But for the most part, they get it. They get that if they come out of their room, they don't get certain rewards. So you can't really do that with a 2.5-year-old. I think we didn't really have that. Well, our 2.5-year-old did run out, and he was going to the bathroom though. So he claimed every time he came out to the bathroom, that was why he was up. So you can't really go against that.
You don't want to discourage that because you're like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're out of diapers. This is good. No, I like this. This is perfect. And so he had that going for a while, but I think he just got so tired that it eventually stopped.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have much of a fight.
And then when it's the sixth time of him going to wash him that night, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's when it was just all right, no. We started, raising our voice a little bit, and he eventually stopped. But it was a lot of bathroom trips.
It's like the manipulation game is so on point. It's kind
it
of
is.
It's
Where
really
does it come from?
Yeah, it's just because with us, so one of we still fight with him to eat. I'll say that's another thing he's actually kind of getting better on, where it's a little bit easier to feed him. But when he's in his room and he doesn't want to go to bed, he'll say, "Eat, eat, I eat."
Yeah, right.
And he's digging you. It's okay, we so badly want you to eat. That's a thing and you're using it against us. How is it that you're having trouble with sentences, but you're able to form these advanced manipulation plots? What?
Just even walking at that point, you're like, dude, how can you form all this stuff in your head and you can't wipe your bum? You can mastermind something against me, but
yeah, it's
I don't know,
20 layers deep of deception to get what you want, but you can't figure out how to open a juice box. What is this? It's holding out on us, but the trials and tribulations of fatherhood is always ongoing, so why not go for a beacon of light amongst all this darkness? It's time for Gaming Dad Victory of the Week. Each week we feature an exemplary gaming dad and often their kids who are doing fatherhood and gaming so well. This week's victory goes to Gaming Dad with a Hearthstone name. Wait for it. Dad Legend.
Okay.
So it's going to be good. Hearthstone name Dad Legend. So obviously the achievement is within Hearthstone, and Dad Legend posted his accomplishment of reaching rank 5 for yet another month. So quick insight into this: in Hearthstone you climb the rank ladder with levels, starting at level 25 and going all the way to 1. The lower ones you only need to get 2 stars. The higher ones you need 5 or 6 or more. Every time you win, you gain a star, but every time you lose stars. So it's this constant flux of winning games. And honestly, with Hearthstone's your win percentage, if you're doing well, is something 60 to 70%.
Huh.
So you're losing a lot of stars all the time, right?
Yeah.
And myself, I think my absolute peak at any time was 15.
Okay.
15 rank from 25.
Right.
So this Dad Legend, 5 level, rank 5, that tends to be his max that he hits every month. And once again for this month, despite 2 kids, he was able to hit rank 5 again.
He's overcoming challenges in life and in game.
That's right. You'd think that there'd be somewhere to, if it was going to be fair, when you're setting up your profile, you could put in how many kids you have.
Oh yeah, almost like a handicap. So it
exactly. So you didn't. So for him, he needs 3 wins instead of 5 because it's 2 kids. Wait, how young are they? Oh God, here, take. Have a free pack, sir. You're okay.
Yeah, here's some free DLC. Here, you need it. It's on us.
But there is no help, and he has persisted. And in some ways it's a small victory, but in other ways it's not. So kudos to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So congratulations on leveling to the Gaming Dad Victory of the Week to the recipient Dad Legend in his climb to rank 5 in Hearthstone. I'm sure to your 2 little ones, you'll always be rank 1.
Nice.
If you'd like to be nominated for Gaming Dad Victory of the Week or know anyone else deserving, please send along the information to us at our website at newdadgaming.com.
And with that, we go to this week's gaming cheat sheet as we run down the highlights of what happened in the world of gaming. Lootbox Alert, the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, has announced it will be introducing labels to video games that will show if games offer in-game purchases. Now, it's not known if the label will specify whether or not the loot box transactions are included in that label, where the loot box is a transaction which ends up in a random game value, but with growing political pressure and being in the spotlight with the most recent Star Wars Battlefront 2 controversy, we think it's a step in the right direction. Blizzard has announced that Brigitte Lindholm, I hope I'm saying that correctly, maybe Trevor can correct me, is Overwatch's next and 27th hero. She's apparently a mix of both support and tank role, with her weapon being the rocket flail, a melee weapon with some range. No date has been set for her to drop in, but keep it locked here for some updates. And a big whoops by Sega, who accidentally released the full version of Yakuza 6 on the PlayStation Store, and not the demo. After discovering the error, Sega promptly removed the game, stating that some users were able to unlock the full version of the game through the demo. No word yet on when they plan to re-upload, but again, keep it here where we will give you that update. And PSN Plus is changing its service in 2019 by no longer offering monthly free PS3 or PS Vita games. Instead, the freebies will only consist of PS4 and PSVR, games to better reflect its user base. The official date of the discontinuation is February of next year. And just a reminder that Demon's Souls servers were shut down this week, ending the online component for the almost 9-year game. The game will be still playable offline, but the most of the fun was the ability to send other players messages and invade other games. I'm sure in a few years we'll see a remake happen, but for now you'll have to go through the game soulless. And on the game release front, some notables this week include Gravel, Payday 2 for the Switch, Into the Breach for the PC, the incredible game Moss for the PSVR, and Tekken Mobile for the iOS. For freebies, the PSN lineup was announced for March, giving away the stellar game Bloodborne and the family-friendly Ratchet & Clank. The PS3 offering is a little bit less stellar, with Mighty No. 9 and The Legend of K being offered. That's the gaming cheat sheet for this week. Catch a nap and tune in next time for another gaming update.
Man, Mighty No. 9 is...
I know, right? Like, you go from Bloodborne to Mighty No. 9.
Yeah, geez, like that is... Well, it's almost just more shocking because, like, with all the controversy, with all of the, for folks on to know, Mighty No. 9 was a massively successful Kickstarter game from one of the original. Was it one of the original developers from Mega Man? Yep. So this was going to be the spiritual successor. Everybody was just drooling for this game, and it launched with, I think it was massive delays, terrible communication. Launched to middling reviews. I think it was fine, but I don't think it was quite what people expected. So it's a game just wrapped in controversy. And here it's like, and here it is for free.
And here it is right now. Just take it away.
What a weird place to be for that game.
I know.
On the loot box.
At least,
go.
No, at least they had a lot of Kickstarter funds. I'm not sure where all of it went in that development, but
a poor state of kickstarting games. But otherwise, like the loot box thing, it's kind of a small token of an action. Like, I don't know like how much of the action. It's just to say that mobile games for the longest time have had this game has purchased, which is a decent step. So I mean, at least it is notifying. I guess, like, particularly as parents, it's good for us to know if, like, we're buying like a younger game or we think is like a safe game that has it. Like, do you want to trust your kid to have this game, which they could buy things on?
Exactly, and that's what I kind of go to with the iOS games, where it says in-app purchases, and I kind of look at that laundry list of stuff, and if there's one item in there that is, because I've turned off that function, which maybe for the PS4 and Xbox you can turn off as well, or at least password protected. But with those iOS games, if there's one of those microtransactions for a purchase of $128 or something of that nature, where it's like a one-off, I still don't trust the game to kind of deny that purchase. So that game is not going to happen. So, maybe it will have people vote with their wallets a little bit more to kind of question more about what's in the game and what kind of content they're getting.
Yeah, I don't know if they're kind of hoping that if they put this in place, no one else will do anything else, because obviously the European countries are looking at loot boxes very seriously.
Yeah.
Hawaii and I think a few other states, if I'm not mistaken, have started to put in investigation or even legislation against loot boxes. Like, I don't know if they're hoping to quell the rage that had started to show up from it or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's specifically loot boxes too, with that, with the political pressure, just because it is trying to be a form of gambling. Like, I think that's the definition they're going after. And with that, become like, now you have to raise ages and look into all sorts of other ratings. And, are we training little gamblers or what's going on? So I think the conversation will still continue, but yeah, I see your point where this is like, hey, we're trying to do something. Here's a label on the box, kind of.
See, we're kind of curious about. So I think about Overwatch as an example, and so Overwatch like generally pretty well received in how they do it. They get some pushback from time to time, but ultimately everything is like super cosmetic.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there really is not like, and here's a special gun that does this, whatever. It's just, here's a funny hat, go for it, or costume more specifically. But even still, they get raked into it because a lot of it is, if you want the new special skins, like you have to win so many things, and it's going to be this lottery, unless you buy extra packs, at which point you can play that lottery more. You just have to wonder if the introduction of the ability to purchase, which is funny to say, like it's almost like the solution is something that people hate besides, but in addition to being able to play this roulette system, which you naturally play just by playing the game, at the end of every match, you get so many boxes, blah, 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 blah. But like, if to buy a particular skin, you can just go to a store and buy it, right? So you don't have to participate in the lottery. You can just say, no, here's $10, give me that.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like a shortcut to solving it. No,
well, I would think so, unless the financials behind the loot box is insane, where people just keep buying them in hopes of getting the funny hat that they want.
Yeah. Well, I fully understand why they wouldn't want to do it.
But yeah, to get out of all this controversy, it would be easy enough to just offer the purchases there.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the more interesting stories to follow this year, because it really has shaped the gaming landscape for this last while. So I'll be curious to see where it all falls.
Yeah, I agree. Even going forward with kids here is it's going to be a little bit different for them.
Yeah, so not so much the purchasing of loot boxes, but some purchasing did happen, and that's with both dads here, as we participated in the PlayStation sale recently, and more specifically the unbelievable deals with the PlayStation VR that had come about. So both of us, I'm sure, are quite guilty of a number of purchases for this week. But Jeff, like, what are some of the things that you purchased, and what have you been playing the most from that sale?
So with the sale, I told myself it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get anything. Right?
Great start to the story.
But like, there are so many VR titles that were on, probably like 20 to 30 of them, just discounted, just 50 to 70% off. So I did take a plunge. I got two. One is SuperHot VR and I Expect You to Die, which both are fantastic, highly recommended games. I'll probably talk a little bit more about SuperHot because it's a pretty popular game. For those that don't know, it's a game where you're in this, in this case, a VR world. It's all like a white world with red bad guys that are coming at you, and they only move and do actions when you move and do actions. So it creates this kind of strategic one-on-one battle throughout the environments, and then more and more enemies kind of pop out from different areas, and you have to kind of plan ahead your moves, because if you move too far, then you can kind of see a bullet come to your face. So I have never played the flat version. I'll call it the flat version.
Sounds so dismissive.
Right? Like,
The
I don't know
flat
how else I would experience this, but in VR, it is an insane trip. Like, to have these faceless people come at you, and every time you move your head to dodge a bullet, time moves. So it gives you a workout. I was sweating at the end of some of these play sessions because you're moving and tilting and kind of ducking under these bullets, and fisticuffs are throwing fists and knives and all sorts of things at you, and you're trying to get them back. So to have each environment kind of throw in slightly different wrenches where you have to, duck under a desk at your first kind of go at it to dodge a bullet, and then kind of pop up and turn around and make sure nobody's behind you, it is really quite an experience in VR. Again, in the flat version, I think you can move around, which adds like an extra level to, planning out how your time moves. And in VR, you're stationary, but I couldn't imagine walking around with how much is going on.
Like so you are Neo as far as
you
bullet
are
time stopping things, and you're swaying and dodging everything.
Oh, in some instances, I just stayed still when a bullet was coming to me and just looked around the bullet, and you could just see it spinning with its red trail trailing from the weapon. And it was just a neat experience to duck underneath of it and then move my arm with my weapon and ready to fire. It was just a cool Matrix-like experience. And I had one level where you start off with just frying pans in front of you. So I picked up a frying pan to block bullets, meanwhile picking up a gun beneath me and firing underneath the frying pan to hit everybody. It was just a neat kind of sense of depth that you could do that without, your gun clipping through the frying pan or something like that. It was recognizing I was going underneath of it.
And it would sound like quite the immersive experience where I assume in some ways you kind of just naturally reached for the frying pan, right?
Yeah, it was just it was kind of an odd, like, the Move controllers were, and again, this is play with Move controllers only. It was an extension of your hands. You were just moving in this game world. And I will say, when it worked beautifully. Like, the 1-to-1 ratio of the Move controller and the hand in game was awesome. When it glitched out, it was very frustrating because sometimes the Move controller wouldn't be recognized by the camera. Maybe I moved, or the Move controller was a little bit too low for the camera to recognize. But when a gun is like just a little bit out of reach, you see this bullet coming from your face, it creates that sense of urgency. Like, okay, well, maybe this would happen in game. I don't know, but like, for this point, it's like, oh no, okay, the game's not recognizing what I want it to do. So those were kind of little hiccups, but an otherwise great game, and just kind of demonstrating how immersive VR could be, and how something of an on-rail shooter, because it kind of, like, you are stationary, can be really fun. Like, it's a really cool experience, and I think that'll be the game I'll kind of go to show off what VR can do when friends come over.
Oh, interesting.
Because it is.
Would you find it a bit intense for? It would have to be. Do you think it'd have to be gaming friends that would get into it? Do you
I think it would have to be gaming friends. Yeah.
Okay, because I was just trying to imagine like your uncle coming over and trying to get him.
No, yeah, he would. You don't want flashbacks or anything, but
oh jeez.
No, for the hardcore, well, not hardcore, but just gaming friends that kind of understand what a first-person shooter is. I think this is one to show them that kind of takes it to that next level, and even the game kind of gives you rewards. The trophies in games kind of seem like they're game achievements, right? That you kind of go through and you gain a trophy. These ones are. The trophies feel like they're actions that you've done, that you've physically done. So there's one called the No Look trophy. So I remember I literally punched 2 guys off screen while looking at the third guy in front of me, and I got a No Look trophy. It was just a kind of a neat, connection that way. And again, it's even just in a little bit more of a violent take. So again, this is not something for kids to experience, obviously, with all the gun talk and stuff. But for you to reach the game's menu, because there is no in-game menu, you literally have to point the gun to your own head. So
Oof.
that was a little bit much to me
Jeez.
at first, because it was just kind of like, it created that weird like pause. You're like, this is how far the VR can go. And again, these aren't very realistic graphics by any means. Like, they're all very stylized, but still, even just for that sensation, it was jarring.
That's a weird place for that to go. I had no clue that's how that handled it.
Yeah, it is kind of in its own political message, like not political message, but message on the violence within the game. So it does feed into something that they're trying to say when you go through the entire kind of like little narrative it presents. But yeah, that was like, no, I just kind of want I kind of want a menu.
It's a bit of a sour note, but on an otherwise seemingly incredible PSVR
Fantastic
experience. So you would recommend it?
I would highly recommend it. And again, it's not that expensive. I think it was, 22 Canadian on the sale, but regularly it's 35, somewhere in that range. So definitely pick it up. It's a good 5-6 hours of gameplay, and then replay. You can kind of go into scenarios. So definitely worth the money.
Cheers. That sounds like a fantastic game.
Yeah. But that's all I got into. I'm sure you got into some special games on PSVR, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there were some sale items I picked up, and then another one I just enthusiastically purchased. So, and embarrassingly, like the sale ones I haven't even touched. Like I do plan to get into them a bit. With the current sleep situation, I've not been able to play a whole lot recently.
Right.
But I picked up Pixel Gear, which is just a blocky shooter style thing, but it was literally $1. And, and I've seen some decent reviews of it. It's like, yeah, for $1, why not? Because I was also thinking, again, I'm always thinking about that friend angle when someone comes over. What can you show them?
Yep.
And if they do a decent, super simple shoot 'em up type thing, great.
Right.
I picked up Expect You to Die.
Oh yes. Yep.
That just looked, again, just a game that has received such acclaim. It looked fantastic, so why not? Yep. I did pick up the Carnival games.
Okay.
Because that one especially seems like the friend over or family member over.
Yep.
Because it's VR, but it's like skeet ball. And it's like throw the softball at the pins. Like, people can handle it, right? Yeah. Except you're in virtual reality. So again, that's all the way down to $8. You're like, this seems great. Like, that's something that I can definitely have other people play. But most notably, though, was I finally got to play the full version of Moss.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
So Moss is a fantastic game. Like, it is such a showpiece for the system, and I think like where it could go. Like, if at any point you had played Robot Rescue as part of the PSVR Playroom that Sony gave,
yeah,
and you thought to yourself, like, there's something here. Like, this is really interesting to partake in this. It's like that, but times 1,000. Because so you play a tiny mouse. You are introduced as believe it's called Whisperer, which is, so you're in the world, and then the players interact and speak to you both in story and the mouse. As he sees you, you're controlling like a little mouse character. Like, it's really stunning how you sit into the world. Right. Okay. So you can very much imagine like somebody has set up a diorama or a train set around you, and you've been placed within it. And then you have this little action figure, and you're just jumping them within it. So you're stationary in these scenes, and it goes scene by scene by scene, which, to kind of keep within the narrative, when you first arrive, you're in this big library with a huge book in front of you. You open it, and all the stories told through pages. When you go from scene to scene, you can hear this very tiny, subtle page turn.
Oh yeah, that's a neat detail.
Right? Like, you're walking through that little detail is reminiscent of how they've seen this entire game. That is how they've approached this entire game, with that type of beautiful attention to tiny details that make it amazing. So yeah, so you are stationary. These scenes are introduced to you one by one, like pages in a book, and you're controlling your little mouse guy. So you're controlling with the stick, attack button, a jump button. You're looking around the world. As the Whisperer in the world, you can grab objects to assist the mouse. So in order to get over this other ledge, I have to grab this big block and pull it out. I have to grab this wheel and I have to turn it around. You can actually take control of some enemies and lead them onto, let's say, a button that needs to be remained pressed. So in addition to moving around your little mouse character, you're also interacting with this world real time. And sometimes at the same time, there's this one room where there's these 3 enemies attacking. And you're controlling him, but at the same time you're with your controller, you're grabbing one of the columns as he's on it. You're actively dodging with your thumbstick as you're lifting up this column. It's a bit more we'll be uploading a number of clips of it, and you can see I fail a bunch. It's not going well. But so you are there. You're in it. This scene is presented to you. It's gorgeous, and not only that, when you're collecting scrolls or you're trying to figure out where he's supposed to go, the world is detailed and inviting enough, and it feels real enough that you're standing up and you're looking over things. You're peeking around ledges, you're trying to get a different angle on items.
Cool.
More than once, we would get into a new scene and I would stop the game entirely and I'm just looking around.
Cool, yeah.
I'm looking up, I'm looking at the scenery all above. At one point, Moss, Quill is actually the name of the mouse. Quill is running around, and this deer, which I hadn't really noticed because it kind of looked a bit like a tree in the background, lifts up its head. He's right there. Massive and compared to the rest. And it was this kind of breath taken away movement.
Huh.
So all of that might be interesting enough. So they've sound design gorgeous. You're in a forest. You're just there. Visual design beautiful. It's a vibrant world. It's a cute world. The graphics are very incredible. I think it's very clever, this scene idea that they've come up with, just to deal with some of the limitations of the hardware. So they have to render one scene. Gameplay feels great. All that is excellent. I think the thing that ties it the most together is that you care about this mouse.
Right. Yeah, you want to see him survive.
Because he is interacting with you. We mentioned on a previous show, where if you can't figure out the puzzle, he will look at you and squeak a little bit, get your and then point out some of the things you're supposed to do. And he'll okay, so first you grab that, and then he spins in a circle to indicate you're supposed to rotate it, and it goes everything else. At the end of one of the puzzle, he sat there with his hand reached out to the screen. He wanted a high five.
God, that's cool. That's neat.
And bam, you give him the high five. When he's injured, you actually take your... so your controller is represented by this ball of light. So that's kind of just to know where you're kind of aiming at the moment. You take that and you hold it over him. You resuscitate him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You are very active in his taking care of him.
Huh.
And even still, even in between, you can latch onto him and kind of pet him in between. So he's very much a Pixar character. This is not a stock standard. Here's a mouse character, make him jump.
Right.
It is this fleshed out animated character that, with the motions that are put into it, it conveys emotion, desires, information. It's, if nothing else, I think that's the real thread of the entirety, is that you care about the damn thing. So as you're running him around, you don't want him to get hit, because that's my mouse buddy.
Yeah, it's my little friend in there.
Be sad for me to mention, the voiceover work is fantastic. There's the one woman who's doing the narration, so she takes on all the different character voices and subtly, like an audiobook, which is done just beautifully. So the story is very good, much more involved than I expected, honestly. Okay. It's a big, huge arcing story. Gameplay is fantastic, looks beautiful, and damn it, man, you care about that mouse. This is the... I would implore anybody who had played the demo and thought it was great, or anybody who's played Robot Rescue and kind of got the gist that this is something, this is it. This is legitimate. This game is utterly fantastic. I highly recommend it for PSVR owners.
Nice, because I did play the demo and I was kind of enthralled in that world where I wanted to see where they could take it, because it kind of gives you like a little snippet at the end where I think there's like a snake or serpent comes in. Yeah, and it's just like that, the visual design in the environments and how, like you said, everything is kind of built out. We're in this living, breathing world is really well done. So, and I'm on the original PlayStation, so I think you have the Pro, right?
That's right.
So even on the original PlayStation, at least in the demo, it was fantastic. I don't know about the graphics on the Pro, but I'm sure it's even better.
Yeah, I don't think I can quite make the comparison, but every review I've seen, pro or not, has mentioned the graphics. Like I said, it is an incredibly clever thing that they've done, because the scenes are relatively small. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't feel small, because like they have all these great background vistas, and so you don't feel like it's been cheapened out, like you're in the tiny space necessarily.
Right.
But the true playing area is definitely confined, and damn man, it's just like smile on my face the whole time. Like it was just like.
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like one to pick up for sure. Like an essential for any PSVR owner.
Yeah. You know, I don't like to come at it from this angle sometimes, but like ultimately, if you like PSVR and in some ways want to see the success and see this type of thing thrive, like it's just one of those where it's such care was taken to put into this one. It's almost like you want to support the devs.
Okay.
Geez, we keep coming back to this example, but with the DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep. Yep.
Where even if it's like, you know, I would like to play some more, but I like this developer so much. Like I'm almost more willing to buy it.
Right. Yeah.
Even if you weren't desperate for more Horizon Zero Dawn, I think a lot of people would consider getting it because, like, you know what, this developer and what they're doing, like I'd love to support it. Yeah, and there's some part of me that looks at a game like this and just thinks like, geez, man, like this, you guys did it. You're doing it.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to see it kind of coming into form too, right? Like we've had a lot of VR experiences, which are, you know, you can kind of see proof of concept, but it seems like Moss is something that's kind of taking the narrative at least to the next level.
No, they're starting to hit. And I think like, and with yours, I mean, with SuperHot, like it's really taking the concept of VR and as opposed to a flat screen, like you said, what if you're in that space?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, like it's fantastic stuff that they're doing, and it's taken me a while to get a VR headset, but man,
aren't you glad you're part of the club? Oh, but with that, I think it's enough of this reality, and it's time to hop off into virtual. So thank you everybody so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you'd like to reach out to us with a show idea, question, or anything else, you can find us at our website at newdadgaming.com, or of course on all the social networks as well. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and any other podcasting service. Of course, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd really love a rating, a subscribe, and most importantly, a pass along to another new dad who games. So until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-month-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
All right, get out of this reality, man. Back to virtual.
See you later.